Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Real Life Process Podcast. My name is Teresa McCloy, and it is great to be back with you this week here on the podcast. Can you believe that we only have 12 weeks left in this year? 12 weeks in 2022. I'm recording this episode in the very first day of October 2022. And, the weather has shifted here in Southern Illinois and things are starting to look a little bit more like fall. And it just always kind of hits us, doesn't it? That, oh my goodness, we are already to October. Before we know it, it'll be Thanksgiving. Before we know it, it'll be Christmas, which means we have 12 weeks left in the year. So what can you do in 12 weeks? Well, our mindset can go one of two ways. It can go to the idea that, wow, there's 12 weeks left in the year. I might as well just not think ahead, not plan anything. I'll just wait and set my projects and my goals and all the planning and all the things that I feel like I didn't accomplish in 2022. And I'll just wait till January and start in on those things. Or you can have the mindset of excitement that there's 12 weeks left in the year, and that you have so many dreams that you still have that you want to do in 2022. Now, that doesn't mean we have to do all of those dreams. Remember, here at the process, we hold those spaces in what we call areas of focus, those big rocks in our lives that we've come around and said, these are the things that matter to me. And I know that I can't move forward in growth in all of those things at the same time. But I can specifically say what I want to do in the next 12 weeks, in the next 90 days. So what do we want to plan? What do we want to accomplish? What do we want to get to in 2022 to look towards 2023? Well, as you know, if you've been listening to the podcast over the last several months, we have a brand new book coming out November 1st. In 30 days, our book will be available in all your favorite book resource places, whether that's Barnes & Noble or Amazon or any of your favorite bookstores or online places that you purchase books. You'll be able to find my brand new book, Do What Matters, Live from Rest, Not Rush, using the real life process. So today I want to share with you a part of that process, a part of how I encourage you to do what we call a 90-day reset. And in the book, I actually talk about practicing a 90-day reset. What is a 90-day reset? Well, when I was actually planning a retreat several years ago for our certified facilitators, I dove into this word called abide. And abide is actually a word that is referenced in scripture. And I'm actually going to use the book to share this with you. I chose the theme abide for our retreat, and it brought back one of my favorite scriptures, John 15, where it says, I am the vine and you are the branch. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. But apart from me, you can do nothing. And it gives me this visual of the trellis and the vine. And I actually talk about that in this chapter in the book of the trellis and the vine, and how that trellis, that foundational piece, is what kind of the stakes that we put in the ground. And we say, this is how I want to live my life. And we do that work in our very first component that we call the real life being, where we put the stake in the ground and we say, these are my needs. These are my values. These are the areas that I want to focus on in my life. This is my real life view statement. This is how I live out who I am being into the work that I am doing in this current season. And we often refer to that as a modern day rule of life. That's the trellis. We've stuck it in the ground and there it is. But then we have this vine that is growing on that trellis, a beautiful vine that is growing up. And we know, and I know as a farm girl, to take care well of that vine that is growing, sometimes you have to prune it back. Sometimes you need to plant some additional vines around it to make it rich and full. And sometimes you need to just tend to the things that are already growing there, the different ways that the vine is growing up. And so when we think of that, plant and prune and tend, that's what we're doing in a 90-day reset. That's what you have the opportunity to do here at the beginning of October to look towards the next 12 weeks. One of my favorite books that I've read in the past few years is actually by Dan Sullivan, The Gap and the Gain. And he talks about how we measure progress. The way to measure your progress is backward against where you started, not against your ideal. And so what happens so many times, as Dan Sullivan's quote says, is we're looking forward. And you may even feel that right now here at the beginning of October or at the end of the last 12 weeks of the year, you're saying, oh my gosh, I haven't gotten far enough. We're measuring against that ideal. You know, what I need to achieve is out there somewhere. And part of a 90-day reset is actually saying, hey, let me look back. Where have I come from? What have I already accomplished this year or in the past 90 days? What have I already done? And maybe they're very small things, but that energy, that momentum will help lead you and guide you into the next 90 days. It's like putting fertilizer on our vine. So one of the very first things you can do as you're looking through a 90-day reset is actually to look back. Now, from a spiritual place, that's often called an examine, right? We're taking a pause and we're looking back and saying, wow, these are the things that I have accomplished. These are the action steps that I checked off as I worked on my projects from the last 90 days. And now I'm going to sit and I'm going to discern, not decide, but I'm going to discern what are the things I want to move forward in the next 12 weeks, in the next 90 days. How do I want to prune some things back? And many times in this last quarter, in these last 12 weeks, we want to get really, really specific on some things because we do have a couple, let's be honest, we have a couple of big holidays that happen in this last 12 weeks. So you may need to discern how much time you're spending with family and friends, how much travel is going to be involved, where are you going to be needing to shift in those deep relationships that matter to you in this last 12 weeks of the year, and allowing plenty of space for that. One of the things that I actually do and have done for several years is I try to really shut down from my business around December 15th, December 20th, wherever that falls. And then I'm not working those last 2 weeks. I am not working in my business during those last 2 weeks. And I just find that very fulfilling for me to have that time. I love Christmas and moving into the new year. And for you, it's maybe working in some of your projects right up until Christmas and then taking off the first week of January and the last week right after Christmas. But think about that now and pre-decide what that might look like. Clear here in October, what's it going to look like as you get into January or Christmas season? What's that going to be for you? So that's one of the things you can do as part of this resetting, maybe pruning back some things and getting very specific. Maybe you can't have 3 projects in this 90 days that you're working on in these last 12 weeks. Maybe you have 1 or 2 that you're finishing up and wrapping up some big things that you've been working on all year. Or maybe one of your projects for this 12 weeks is actually planning what 2023 will be, taking a whole jump ahead and saying, I'm going to plan out. My friend and mentor, Dan Miller, always talks about he'll plan out all of 2023 or all of the next year. I think it's by November 13th or November 15th, somewhere around in there. He wants to know all his plans and his projects and his big goals for 2023 a couple of weeks before Thanksgiving. So maybe that would be super important for you to do. And that's one of the projects, so you can get up on the balcony of what 2023 would look like. So that's one thing you might do is prune back. The next thing is you might plant. So what I was just talking about kind of comes under that planting. What are the things that I want to finish in this year or have as a project to wrap up in this year? And then what would it look like? Clear out there. That would be some things that you're dreaming about planting. So plant, prune, and then a lot of what you might do here in the last 12 weeks is just tend to the things that you've already planted in 2022. Really take that Dan Sullivan look back and really look at those things and say, what do I want to finish well? What do I need to tend to? How do I need to totally complete this out? This is something that I personally have often struggled with. And I've really grown in this area in the last few years of my life, is wrapping things all the way up, completing them full circle. Many of us in our personalities have the tendency to start things, but not finish them, not take it all the way to the end. So set aside some time and take some time to say, what have I started in 2022? What one or two things can I finish well? Can I tend to in this season and bring them all the way around? Now, we have lots of resources here at the Real Life Process that we use to do this. And one of the best things you could get right now is actually the book, Do What Matters, Live From Rest, Not Rush. If you want to dive into a 90-day reset, you can actually already download the book in the Kindle version out on Amazon. Or the book will be out November 1st, and you can turn straight to chapter 9 in the book, Practicing a 90-Day Reset. And you can read all about how to get up on the balcony and reset. What are the things that you want to do? And we also have free resources you can download with the book so that you can have some worksheets and some ways to walk through this 90-day reset. I want to share with you what one of our clients who actually ended up becoming a facilitator said about a 90-day reset. And this is actually from Gloria Smith, one of our facilitators. And this is a quote that's in the book. She said, "Who doesn't need the opportunity or permission to reset every now and then?" And I love that word, permission, giving yourself permission to take a pause, to really go back and look at the trellis that you've built. Look at the trellis you want to build. What does that look like? And then what vine do you want to grow on it? I love the 90-day reset because the tool offers such a clear and detailed strategy to examine my life in 3-month increments. What do I want to do in the next 12 weeks? She said, because she's a type 5 on the Enneagram, I have an enormous amount of information that's in my head all the time. So the reset provides precise steps for me to examine my next 90 days. I was able to use the tool going into the planning stages for a project that she was planning for a camp for girls. I'm able to connect my real life view, that's that trellis piece, to every other aspect of the project in order to move forward. I'm looking forward to my 90-day reset to align my projects, my people, myself to be present, and the technology components. What an invaluable tool. So think of, how do you want to prune? How do you want to plant? How do you want to tend? Take some time, set aside some time. We have some other podcast episodes where we've talked about a 90-day reset in detail, and we will put those in the show notes if you want to go back and just walk through the whole process and the tools that Gloria is talking about. And measure back, do the examine, do the looking back before you do the look forward. I can't wait to hear from you. We would love to hear from you how you are doing with the trellis and the vine and the 90-day reset. You can connect with us on Facebook in our Facebook community. Actually, right now in that community, as we are recording this episode live, we are engaging with our launch team for the book. And we have all kinds of great resources for our launch team, including, and I'm going to hold it up here if you're watching on our YouTube channel, our brand new guidebook that goes with the book. So before the book even comes out, we have a guidebook to go with it. I'm super excited about that. And if you're a part of our launch team, we have ways that you can get your hands on that brand new guidebook before it even gets launched out into the world in the next few months. So check us out over in that Facebook community. You can find out how to sign up for the launch team. It's not too late to be a part of that. And Lindsay, our marketing director, will connect with you. We'll be doing Facebook Lives inside the group each and every week. In fact, if you go back and listen to just last week's episode, you can find out more about being a part of our book launch team for Do What Matters. Thank you so much for listening in. We love connecting with you. Another way that you could really help us out is by subscribing to the podcast and also to the podcast out on our YouTube channel. We would love to have you engage with us over there as well. We just have lots of places that we can connect together and help you finish 22 well. Finish well, friends. Remember that every ordinary day has an extraordinary moment. You just have to look for them. And we'll see you next week right here on the Real Life Process Podcast.